Today we're going to uncover 20 everyday things dog owners do that slowly erode their dog's sense of safety. Once you know them, you can start tweaking small details that make your dog feel truly secure with you again. 20. Forcing contact when your dog doesn't want it. You reach out to pet your dog and instead of leaning in, they lick their lips, turn their head slightly away, or let their body go just a bit stiff. On the surface, it looks like nothing, but for many dogs, that's their polite way of saying, "I'm not comfortable right now." Guides on canine body language explain that small signals like yawning, lip licking, turning away, or freezing are early stress cues that mean they need a bit more space. Have you ever noticed your dog doing that and felt that something was just a bit off for them? When we push past those signals and keep petting, pull them closer for a cuddle, or wrap them in a tight hug while they're tense, we send a clear message over time. Their no does not really count. Instead of seeing you as the person who gets them out of uncomfortable moments, they start to see you as the one who puts them there. And over time, that slowly wears down trust, even if your intentions are loving. The fix is simple but powerful. Notice those tiny changes, soften your hands, pause, and let your dog choose if they want more contact. Dogs remember who listens to their body language. And once you start listening, the next step is just as important, actually protecting them when they're scared. 19. Not protecting your dog when they're scared. Every dog needs that one person who steps forward when things get overwhelming. Research on attachment and the secure base effect shows that dogs explore more, play more, and handle stress better when they feel their human is a safe base they can fall back on. If your dog is worried about rough dogs at the park, loud kids rushing in, or adults who ignore their body language, and you just stand back hoping it'll be fine, they learn a painful lesson. In scary situations, they're on their own. That feeling quietly erodes trust. Instead of moving closer to you for safety, they may start avoiding you or trying to manage everything themselves with barking, lunging, or hiding. Being their protector doesn't mean wrapping them in bubble wrap. It means calmly stepping between them and what scares them, increasing distance, and telling people, "Please give my dog some space." Over time, your dog learns that when life gets messy, you're the one who makes it feel safe again. And once safety is there, the next piece of trust is what happens when you reach for the things they value most. 18. Snatching things from your dog instead of trading. For many dogs, your hand coming toward their mouth means only one thing: I'm about to lose something I love. When toys, chews, or even their food bowl are constantly taken away with no warning and no trade, you create a pattern where every approach feels like a little loss. Over time, some dogs start to freeze, turn their head away, or even growl to protect what they've got. That's not a bad dog. It's a dog who's learned that humans aren't safe around their treasures. Modern training advice strongly encourages teaching drop and leave it through positive reinforcement and fair exchanges, not force. When your dog learns that giving something up makes good things appear, their whole emotional picture shifts. Your hand becomes a promise, not a threat. Trust grows when your dog can relax with a bone or toy without bracing for it to be ripped away at any second. Once we understand that, it's easier to see why turning their supposed safe space into a punishment also cuts deep into that same trust. 17. Using their crate or safe zone as punishment. There's a big difference between go to your bed, that's your cozy chill place, and go to your bed because you did something wrong. Studies on the secure base effect show that dogs use their owner and often specific resting spots as a secure base to relax and bounce back from stress. When the crate, bed, or pen is used as a timeout full of anger, slammed doors, and frustration, that safe base disappears. Your dog may start avoiding the crate, refusing to go in, or panting and pacing when they're inside. Instead of feeling like a den, it starts to feel like social isolation. If you want your dog to truly trust you, their zone has to be a place where only calm, predictable things happen. Naps, chews, quiet time, gentle words. The more you protect that association, the easier it is for your dog to settle on their own when life gets loud. And part of protecting that calm state is learning to notice the very first signs of stress, long before your dog is melting down. 16. Ignoring the early signs of stress. Dogs hardly ever jump straight from everything's fine to full panic. They pass through a long hallway of small signals first. Those early cues have names: yawning when there is no reason to be sleepy, quick lip licking, turning the head away, stiffening, or the tail dropping a little lower than usual. Back in the very first habit of this video, when we talked about forcing contact, we already started to see how important those tiny signals are for your dog. They're like polite little whispers that say, "I'm not okay with this." When those signals get ignored again and again, dogs learn that their polite way of saying "I'm uncomfortable" doesn't work. And if your dog has already tried all those subtle ways to ask for space, what else do they have left? That is often when they feel forced to escalate into barking, growling, snapping, or shutting down completely. From the dog's perspective, they tried to speak softly, and no one listened. Trust grows when your dog discovers that you respond to the whisper, not just to the scream. You notice the yawn at the vet and give them a little more distance. You see the lip lick when a child hugs them and gently interrupt. You become the one who steps in before things get too big. And one of the most practical ways to help your dog feel calmer is to stop shaking their world with constant changes in routine. 15. Constantly breaking routines and schedules. Dogs don't need a minute-by-minute military schedule, but they really rely on predictable patterns. Research on separation-related problems and general canine anxiety shows that stable routines for walks, meals, and rest help dogs feel safer and lower their baseline stress. When 1 week you walk at 7 a.m., the next week at noon, 1 week it's 3 walks, the next week it's 1, dinner at random times, and long absences with no warning, the world stops making sense. Some dogs react by becoming clingy and restless. Others withdraw and look kind of shut down. In both cases, trust in their environment, and in you as the manager of that environment, quietly starts to crumble. Small bits of predictability go a long way. A rough pattern of when food appears, when walks usually happen, and what happens before you leave the house gives your dog a mental map to follow. Dogs feel safest when they can guess what comes next. Once that foundation is in place, the next layer of trust comes from respecting who your dog actually is, not who you wish they were. 14. Ignoring your dog's breed and species needs. Every dog is an individual, but genetics still matter. Working breeds need jobs for their brain and body, scent hounds need to sniff, herding dogs often need structured outlets for their natural movement patterns. When those core needs are constantly blocked, many dogs end up frustrated, understimulated, and emotionally flat. A bored dog is not just lazy. They may start chewing, digging, pacing, or barking simply because nothing in their day lets them be who they are. Over time, that mismatch sends a quiet message: my human doesn't really see me. Feeling misunderstood like that makes it harder for a dog to fully relax in your hands. Instead, trust really grows when you build small daily rituals that match your dog's nature. Nosework games for scent dogs, problem-solving puzzles for clever working breeds, calm, sniffy walks for almost everyone. When a dog feels understood at that deep instinct level, they start to look at you as the person who finally speaks their language. And speaking their language becomes especially important when fear enters the picture, and we are tempted to fix it the fast way. 13. Flooding your dog with their fears all at once. In dog training and behavior, flooding basically means forcing a dog to face the thing they're terrified of, up close and for a long time, until they supposedly get over it. Behavior experts and trainers repeatedly warn that in real life, this technique is extremely risky. Can you imagine how it would feel to be stuck in a room with the thing that scares you the most, with no way out? When a dog is kept right next to what terrifies them, with no chance to move away, their stress response can shoot through the roof. They may stop trying to escape and look calm, but inside they are often frozen, shut down, and learning that nothing they do makes the fear stop. That is a recipe for learned helplessness, not healing. From a trust point of view, flooding sends a cruel message. The one person who was supposed to listen to their fear is now the person holding them inside it. A much kinder and more effective approach is gradual desensitization and counterconditioning, where distance and intensity are adjusted so your dog can keep thinking and feel safe while they learn. And fear is only one side of the coin. For many dogs, the deepest cracks in trust appear quietly, day after day, when they are left alone without any preparation. 12. Leaving your dog alone for hours without preparation. Separation-related problems aren't just a bit of barking. Studies link long, unpredictable absences and lack of early alone-time training with stress behaviors like howling, destruction, pacing, drooling, or even self-harm. From your dog's perspective, you vanish for hours with no clear pattern, then reappear as if nothing happened. There's no gradual build-up, no safety cues, no training that says you're safe and I always come back. That unstable rhythm can turn you from a secure base into something that feels really unreliable. The dog never knows when you will leave again, or for how long. Gentle alone-time training, starting with minutes and building up, paired with predictable departure rituals and calm returns, tells a very different story. It says, I go, I come back, and you have what you need while I'm away. Trust grows when your dog can nap instead of panic while the door is closed. And how you act when you finally walk back through that door has a huge impact. especially if an accident happened while you were gone. 11. Punishing accidents when you come home. Finding a puddle or a pile on the floor after a long day is frustrating, no doubt about it. But house training guides and behaviorists are very clear. Punishing a dog for accidents you discover later does not teach them where to go, it only teaches them that you are scary around messes. From the dog's point of view, they relieved themselves hours ago. Now you arrive, your body language changes, your voice gets sharp, and sometimes they even get grabbed or dragged toward the spot. Many dogs in that situation start cowering, rolling onto their back, or avoiding their owner at the moment of arrival. That greeting, which should be full of joy and relief, turns into a moment of dread instead. Long term, this can seriously damage the trust your dog feels when you walk through the door. They may try to hide accidents or hold it far too long instead of feeling safe to eliminate in the right place. Calmly cleaning up, managing schedules better, and rewarding them for going in the right spot builds understanding, not fear. And fear around punishments can spread to other areas, especially when even the sound of their own name starts to mean that something bad is coming next. 10. Uses their name only to scold them. Your dog's name is supposed to be a little "hey, listen to me" chime, not a warning siren. Training guides are very clear that a name works best when it predicts good things, attention, treats, play, or clear info about what happens next. When it mostly comes out of your mouth in a sharp, frustrated tone, your dog starts to attach a very different meaning to it. Have you ever noticed your dog slowing down or looking unsure the moment you say their name in a harsh way? With repetition, the name stops being a neutral cue and turns into an emotional trigger. Instead of "look at my person, something good might happen," it becomes "brace yourself." That shift quietly damages trust and recall. Some trainers even warn that overusing the name while you're mad turns it into background noise or something your dog would rather avoid. You rebuild that trust by pairing their name with soft tone, rewards, and clarity much more often than with corrections. The more your dog feels that hearing their name makes life better, the faster and happier they will come when you call. And now, before we move on, just know that if you visit happydogsplace.com/gift, you can download a free guide packed with tips to make your dog's life even happier. It's full of fun ideas, helpful strategies, and all the basics every pup needs to thrive. You'll find the link in the description. 9. Only calling them when something unpleasant happens. Using their name only to scold is already damaging, but it gets even worse when the main reason you call your dog over is to do something they really don't enjoy. For many dogs, "come here" slowly turns into the sound of disappointment. If every recall ends the game, leads to a bath, medication, nail trim, or a scolding, the emotional math is simple. Coming to you makes fun stop. That call in your dog's name should not be constantly paired with negative experiences, because dogs learn incredibly fast through simple associations. Over time, some dogs start hesitating, trotting in slowly, or pretending they didn't hear you. It's not stubbornness, it's self-protection. From their point of view, staying away keeps the good stuff going a little longer. This is how an everyday habit quietly erodes trust. Your dog stops believing that coming when called is safe. To flip that script, you need a long streak where "come" and their name predict praise, food, play, or even relief from something uncomfortable. That way, even when you occasionally have to call them for a less fun reason, the overall emotional balance of that cue is still positive and trustworthy. And when those cues feel good again, the next thing that really shapes trust is the kind of training methods you use around them. 8. Relying on aversive training methods all the time. Shock collars, prong collars, leash jerks, and physical corrections are still common in some circles, but welfare studies keep pointing in the same direction. Dogs trained mainly with aversive methods show more stress signals during sessions, higher cortisol levels, and a more pessimistic attitude when they later face new situations. Veterinary and professional bodies now openly recommend avoiding these tools whenever possible because they rely on fear and discomfort to stop behavior. From a trust perspective, the cost is huge. If the person who's supposed to be your safe base also delivers pain or big scares with no warning, you learn to watch them out of self-defense, not admiration. Many dogs trained this way look obedient on the surface but show subtle signs of tension when they anticipate corrections: lip licking, lowered posture, frozen movement. Positive reinforcement doesn't mean letting your dog run wild. It means building behavior through rewards, clear boundaries, and thoughtful management instead of punishment and intimidation. That kind of training does more than teach cues. It tells your dog that you are predictable and safe. Predictability is the perfect bridge into the next habit, because inconsistency in rules is one of the fastest ways to confuse and unsettle your dog. 7. being unpredictable with rules and consequences. Some days the dog's allowed on the couch, other days they get yelled at for the very same thing. One visitor gives them treats for jumping up, the next person pushes them away while you get angry. Can you imagine living with someone whose reactions change every single day for no obvious reason? Research on attachment and behavior suggests that inconsistent caregiving and unclear boundaries are linked to more anxious, insecure attachment styles in dogs. In practice, that often looks like a dog that is constantly checking your face, pacing, or testing behaviors because they have no reliable map of what is allowed. They're not trying to be difficult, they're trying to predict you and failing. Trust thrives on patterns. If you want your dog to relax, the same behaviors should lead to the same outcomes most of the time. That does not mean you can never change rules, but changes should be clear and consistent, not based on your mood or stress level that day. Once the rules feel stable, the next question is whether your dog's daily life actually lets them burn energy and use their brain in a healthy way. 6. Not meeting their exercise and mental stimulation needs. A lot of so-called behavior problems are dogs desperately trying to cope with built-up energy and boredom. Ethologists and vets repeatedly mention that appropriate physical exercise and mental enrichment can reduce frustration, destructive chewing, overexcitement, and even some forms of anxiety. Dogs weren't designed to lie on a sofa for 23 hours and just walk around the block once. When movement and problem-solving are missing day after day, many dogs become restless, vocal, or shut down and sleepy. In both cases, the relationship pays the price. The human sees bad behavior. The dog lives with chronic unmet needs, and trust in the human as a fair leader slowly fades. You do not have to run marathons. Often, a mix of sniffy walks, short training sessions, puzzle feeders, and breed-appropriate games is enough to change the emotional tone of the whole day. A dog who feels pleasantly tired and mentally satisfied is much more likely to see you as a source of good things, not constant restriction. How you respond when they make mistakes then becomes the next big piece, especially if your go-to tool is social isolation. 5. Using social isolation as your main punishment. Dogs are social animals. Their owner and family are not just food sources, they are the core of their attachment system. Being separated from the person they rely on most can be incredibly stressful for a lot of dogs, even the ones who look calm on the outside. When every mistake leads to being shut in another room, locked away, or intentionally ignored for long stretches, punishment hits the relationship as much as the behavior. Timeouts and brief removal of attention can be useful tools in some training plans, but only when they are short, unemotional, and very clearly linked to one specific behavior. Long, angry isolations teach something very different. They say, when you are confused or overwhelmed, I also disappear. That kind of pattern can make a dog clingier, more anxious, or more shut down over time. Instead, most modern trainers recommend focusing on teaching wanted behaviors, preventing rehearsals of unwanted ones, and using very limited, calm breaks from attention when needed. And when you combine fair consequences with a calm voice, you avoid another trust killer: constant shouting and intimidation. 4. Shouting or using an intimidating tone all the time. Your dog doesn't understand every word you say, but they understand tone incredibly well. Studies on emotional communication between humans and dogs show that dogs read our vocal patterns, facial expressions, and body language to figure out how safe or dangerous a situation feels. When the main soundtrack at home is yelling harsh words or an angry edge in your voice, your dog's nervous system stays on high alert. Behavior consultants and trainers often see dogs from loud homes that startle easily, creep around their owners, or react defensively, not because they were physically hurt, but because their emotional world is full of sudden storms. Speaking softly does not mean you never set boundaries. It means you separate calm but firm from scary and unpredictable. When your dog learns that your voice is a guide, not a threat, they can use you as a true reference point in stressful moments. The tone of your voice is one piece, but the overall emotional climate in the home matters just as much for your dog's trust in you. 3. Living in an emotionally chaotic home with no calm anchor. Dogs do more than listen to us. They absorb us. Dogs don't just watch what's happening around them. They pick up on the stress, tension, and conflicts in the home and often reflect that energy in their own behavior and body. Homes with constant arguments, slammed doors, and no one actively creating calm can turn sensitive dogs into chronic worriers. If the emotional weather in the house never settles, how is your dog supposed to know when it is safe to relax? Over time, this can show up as pacing, whining, restlessness, or even aggression between dogs in the same home. Articles on multi-dog households describe how one tense individual, human or canine, can set off a whole chain of stress responses. Your dog learns that being around you is unpredictable at an emotional level, which slowly chips away at the feeling that you are a stable, safe base. You can't make life stress-free, but you can become your dog's calm anchor. Routines, gentle voices, predictable reactions, and intentional quiet time help reset everyone's nervous system. Once you have calmer energy in place, it becomes much easier to notice the quieter signals that something is wrong physically, not just emotionally. 2. Ignoring subtle signs of pain or illness. Trust isn't only about training and emotions, it's also about how seriously you take your dog's discomfort. Many dogs who are hurting don't yelp or limp in obvious ways. Instead, they show small changes. A worried facial expression, reduced activity, reluctance to jump, avoiding stares, changes in sleep, or becoming more irritable or withdrawn. When these patterns are brushed off for months as getting old or being grumpy, the dog learns a harsh lesson. Their suffering does not lead to help. Pain is strongly linked to behavior changes like aggression, anxiety, or clinginess, and it can lower a dog's threshold for reacting negatively in a lot of situations. If no one looks for a medical cause, the relationship can really deteriorate on both sides. The human sees a problem dog. The dog feels alone with their pain. Building trust here means paying attention to subtle shifts and being willing to ask a vet rather than assuming it is purely a training issue. Being the person who listens to those quiet signals and brings relief can deepen your bond more than any trick. One of the clearest places where pain and emotion come together is in your dog's growl, which brings us to the final habit. 1. Punishing growls and other warnings. Growls make many owners uncomfortable, but in behavior science they're seen as a vital safety signal. A growl says, "I'm not okay right now. Please give me space." Punishing a dog for growling doesn't fix the underlying emotion. It only removes the early warning. Dogs that are scolded, yanked, or even hit for growling often stop growling, which can look like improvement from the outside. Inside, the dog is still scared, in pain or overwhelmed, and now has no safe way to communicate that. Several experts note that these dogs may jump straight from quiet tension to a sudden bite, because every time they tried to speak up earlier, they got punished for it. From a trust point of view, honoring the growl is huge. It means stepping back, assessing the situation, checking for pain, and addressing the emotion instead of silencing the sound. When your dog learns that you listen to their warnings and help them out of trouble instead of getting angry, you become the partner they can truly rely on, not the threat they have to manage. And with that, you now know 20 owner habits that can slowly damage your dog's trust, and what to do instead so your dog feels safe and understood with you. If you want to keep going and understand your dog even better, I'd really recommend you watch the video that's on screen right now. In it, I break down 60 of the strangest dog behaviors and what they really mean. Tap the thumbnail to jump into that video and keep learning how your dog really thinks and feels.